Freddie Mercury, 4-octave range, sold out stadiums on 6 continents. Michael Jackson, Thriller, the best-selling album ever made. Now picture them in the same room, same microphone, recording together. And yeah, this actually happened. 1983. They cut 3 songs. One of them was supposed to end up on Thriller. I'll let that sit for a second. Freddie Mercury was almost on Thriller. But you've never heard a single one of those tracks, because the whole thing collapsed over a llama, a chimpanzee, and a line of... Oh, and then Mick Jagger swooped in and took Freddie's place. Here's the full story, and I promise, most of this you've never heard before. So before we get to the madness, some context, because these two didn't just randomly end up in a studio together, there's a whole backstory. Michael Jackson was a Queen fan, not casually, obsessively. Starting in 1977, when he was barely 19, he kept showing up to Queen concerts at the Forum in LA. Over the next 5 years, he went to 12 shows. 12.
Michael Jackson was going to do a song because I worked with him before.
He used to just come and see our shows at the Forum in LA. I guess he liked us, and so I got to meet him, and he kept coming to see us, and then we started talking.
The future king of pop sitting in the audience, watching Freddie Mercury like the rest of us would. Then in July 1980, he finally went backstage. Queen's manager Jim Beach remembered it. Michael was 22 and basically vibrating with excitement, still running on adrenaline from the show. But he didn't just come to say hi, he had an opinion. He sat down with bassist John Deacon and told him straight up, Another One Bites the Dust needs to be a single. And the thing is, the band wasn't planning to release it. Roger Taylor was against it, but Michael kept pushing. And Freddie listened. That song went on to sell 7 million copies, #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Queen's biggest single ever, to this day. Freddie said it later. Credit for the song should go to Michael Jackson in many ways. He kept telling me, Freddie, you need a song the cats can dance to. Just think about that for a second. A 22-year-old kid walks backstage and tells one of the biggest rock bands on earth which song to release. And he's right. That's a different level of musical instinct. And that's how Freddie started calling him little brother, 12 years between them. Completely different personalities, but real deep respect. Freddie even admitted, when I'm talking to him, I think, my God, he's 25, I'm 37, yet he's been in the business longer than I have.
Well, when I'm talking to him, I think, my God, he's 25, I'm 37, yet he's been in the business almost longer than I have, because he started that young. And for me, it's sort of quite frightening when I'm talking to somebody who's 25 and you think somebody who was 22 or 25 has just been starting out or whatever, and I could sort of teach him a few tricks, but no, not Michael.
When Freddie Mercury is impressed by your career, that means something. Okay, hold on to that mutual admiration, because it's about to get seriously tested. There's a great Rolling Stone piece from 1983 that captured the energy between them. A reporter spotted Michael backstage at, yes, another Queen show, and asked, Can I tell my viewers that Michael Jackson is a Queen fan? And Michael just said, I'm a Freddie Mercury fan. The article goes on to describe the scene backstage, and honestly, it reads like a movie. The band is merry. Michael is shy, standing quietly at the door until Freddie spots him and leaps up to gather him in a hug. That's not networking, that's not industry, that's two people who are genuinely happy to see each other. And then Michael looked at Freddie and said, Now he listens to me, right, Freddie? And Freddie just grinned and said, Righto, little brother. So, August 1983, Freddie flew out to Michael's family compound, Havenhurst in Encino, California. And there's this detail from Freddie's personal assistant, Peter Freestone, that almost nobody talks about. Before they even went into the studio, Michael insisted on showing Freddie around the property. And Freestone wrote, I love this. I will never forget Freddie Mercury walking through mud, wearing white jeans and white tennis shoes talking to llamas. I mean, Freddie Mercury in white jeans, trudging through mud, chatting with llamas? That image alone is worth the whole story.
White shirt, white jeans, white trainers. But it had been raining a few days before, and Michael said, look, before we go in, I'll take you around the animals that I have. And we were walking around, and I could see Freddie's face just getting more and more annoyed. And I thought, but what's happened? Nothing, I can't. And I looked down, and the shoes were brown, and the bottom of the white jeans were going brown because of the mud that we were going through. But that's where the llamas come in, because he had 2 llamas, and one of them spat at Freddie.
The actual recording session was stripped down. Engineer Bill Buttrell said it was just 3 people: Michael, Freddie, and guitarist David Williams. That's it. No entourage, no label people. And Michael was so fired up that at one point he literally ran into a closet and started banging on a snare drum, while Freddie was at the mic. Out of that session came 3 songs. There must be more to life than this, something Freddie had originally written for Queen but never finished. State of Shock, a hard rock track Michael wrote. This was the one earmarked for Thriller. And Victory, a brand new song they wrote together in the room. This one has never been released. No one outside a tiny circle has ever heard it. 3 tracks, 2 once-in-a-century voices, and it was electric. And then the Animals showed up. Alright, this is where the story goes sideways. So imagine you're Freddie Mercury. You've just walked through mud in your white jeans. You're in the studio with the biggest pop star alive. You're about to make history. And sitting in the corner of the room is a llama. A real llama, named Louie, just standing there. Because at the Jackson compound, alongside Michael and his family, there were also snakes, parrots, tigers, and monkeys. The man had basically turned his backyard into a private zoo. Freddie's bassist Joe Burt put it perfectly. I think the last straw was when Michael brought his pet llama into the studio. Freddie sort of took umbrage to that. Took umbrage. Gotta love the British talent for understatement. Now here's where I want to be straight with you, because the sources actually contradict each other on this. Jim Beach, Queen's manager, says it was the llama. He says Freddie called him in a panic. "Miami, dear, can you get over here? You've got to get me out of here. I'm recording with a llama."
They got on well, except for the fact that I suddenly got a call from Freddie saying, "Miami, dear, can you get on over here because you've got to get me out of the studio?" I said, "Well, what is the problem?" He said, "I'm recording with a llama." He said, "Michael's bringing his pet llama into the studio every day, and I'm really not used to recording with a llama, and I've had enough and I want to get out."
But author David Wiggs tells a completely different version. He says it wasn't the llama, it was Michael's chimpanzee Bubbles. According to Wig, Michael sat Bubbles between them during recording. And between takes, he'd turn to the chimp and go, "Don't you think that was lovely? And do you think we should do that again?" He was polling a chimpanzee for creative feedback, while Freddie Mercury sat right there. Now a quick note, Bubbles was born in early 1983, so at the time of these sessions, he would have been just a few months old. A baby chimp in the studio? Weird, sure, but honestly kinda plausible for Michael Jackson. Either way, llama, chimp, or both, Freddie eventually snapped. The quote that's been passed around, "I'm not performing with a chimp sitting next to me each night." But there's another side to this. Michael was completely straight edge back then. No alcohol, nothing. And at some point during the sessions, he caught Freddie doing cocaine in Michael's own home. For context, Elton John once said, "Freddie Mercury could out-party me," which is saying something. We'd be up for nights, sitting there at 11 in the morning still flying high. So just picture the collision of worlds. Freddie, who once said, "I go out every night. I'd be bored to death staying in one room." And Michael, who in Freddie's own words just stays at home. Whatever he wants, he just buys it.
Going to dinner with him, and I think now he just stays at home and doesn't like coming out at all. That's what he says. I mean, he says, "Oh, whatever he wants, he can get at home." Because I mean, anything he wants, he just buys it. I'll be bored to death. I mean, I have to go out every night. I mean, I hate staying in one room for too long anyway. I just like to keep moving. It's just an individual approach, you know.
One brought the other brought a chimpanzee, and neither one could deal with the other's version of normal. Freddie flew back to London. 3 songs sat on a tape in Encino, unfinished. A year goes by. Michael still needs State of Shock. He's got a Jackson's album to finish. He calls Freddie. Freddie's answer? In his own words, "Timing is everything. At the time when he wanted me to finish it, I just said I can't. I really haven't got time. I was working with Queen." And here's where the label gets involved. CBS/Epic already had someone in mind, someone under their contract. Engineer Bill Buttrell said it bluntly. CBS/Epic had someone else in mind. MJ was a good soldier and went along, but the song and the record suffered under the committee's stupidity. That someone was Mick Jagger. And here's the thing, Jagger and Jackson didn't even record in the same room. They were on different sides of the country. Jagger later described the process. How was working with Michael? Quick. He had the 2 of us practice scales for 2 hours, and then we recorded the vocals in 2 takes. When Michael finally heard Jagger's vocals, he was not impressed. According to Christopher Anderson's biography, Jackson said, "How did he ever get to be a star?" Jagger, for his part, called Michael very lightweight, like froth on a beer. Froth on a beer, about the man who moved 70 million copies of Thriller. State of Shock came out in 1984 on the Jacksons' Victory album, got to number 3. But catch the irony, the album was called Victory, which was also the name of the unreleased song Freddie and Michael wrote together, the one nobody's ever heard. And Michael was so unhappy with the Jagger version that he refused to shoot a music video for it. Just wouldn't do it. Then at Live Aid in 1985, Jagger performed State of Shock, not with Michael, but with Tina Turner. So a song that started with Freddie Mercury went to Mick Jagger, then ended up with Tina Turner on stage at Wembley. The song had a whole journey of its own. And Freddie, he knew exactly what he'd walked away from. In an interview, he said it plain.
I think one of the tracks would have been on the Thriller album if I'd finished it. But I missed out.
And you can see it in his face. That's real regret. Freddie Mercury died on November 24, 1991. Complications from AIDS. He was 45. Michael Jackson died on June 25, 2009. Cardiac arrest from a prescription drug overdose. He was 50. Both gone way too early. After Michael's death, Brian May and Roger Taylor tried to get all 3 duets released. Roger Taylor described the negotiations with the Jackson estate as wading through glue. Years of back and forth. And in the end, they got clearance for exactly one song. In 2014, 31 years after those sessions in Encino, the duet version of There Must Be More to Life Than This finally came out on the album Queen Forever. William Orbit produced it. When Orbit first heard the original tapes, he said hearing Michael Jackson's vocals was stirring. So vivid, so cool and poignant. It was like he was in the studio singing live.
This is life. There must be more to life than living.
2 voices, perfectly preserved on tape, singing together decades after both of them were gone. Back in 2002, a rough demo of State of Shock with both of them had leaked online.
Like I know you should. Get me on my knees.
And when you hear it, even through all the tape hiss and the roughness, you can feel it. 2 voices that just fit. One operatic, one otherworldly, both tearing through a rock song like it was nothing. And Victory, the 3rd song, still sitting in a vault somewhere, controlled by Jackson's estate. Roger Taylor called it a great shame. Nobody knows if it'll ever come out. Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson were, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, the 2 greatest performers who ever lived. And for a brief window in 1983, they were in the same room making music together. A llama named Louie helped end it. Freddie said it himself, "I blew it." But the real question, the one that keeps people up at night, is what would a full album have sounded like? What would a joint tour have looked like? 2 of the most magnetic stage presences in history on the same bill? We'll never get to find out. Here's what I want to know from you. If you could hear one of those lost recordings, which one? State of Shock with Freddie's vocals? Or Victory, the song literally nobody alive has ever heard? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, I've got plenty. See you in the next one.